So after 6 hours of playing Arc Raiders, what is my first impression of it? I gotta say, right off the bat, my first impression of the game was, well, like, not the performance, how to describe it? Okay, let's do it this way. Immediately, the first impression is from the tutorial, right in the beginning. The presentation of the game is crazy, dude. Like, graphics-wise, the way they introduce you to the game, it's like cinematic is the way that I would basically express the way the game actually feels. And the maps themselves are absolutely massive when you're in the game. Let me just queue for one here real quick just so you can kind of see why we're doing it. The visuals of the game in and of itself is probably like my favorite part of the game easily. And I would say that the kind of equipment system, the loot that you're getting, the way it breaks down into recycling, all it seems all right. This seems like pretty standard extraction stuff. You're looking for like a whole bunch of different loot. You use that for a crafting system in order to be able to actually create gear. Though you are tankier in this game in extraction games than I'm normally used to be honest. Like in some of the other extractions I've played, you're kind of one-shot kill, although it's a little early in it to be able to tell. But I'm coming from the work and the stream is 8 hours in, yeah. Kind of going over some like first impressions here. Absolute Cinema, yeah. Okay. Let's see. How to explain this? Like, you only have 2 slots in your stash FY. Yeah, I just kind of want to like show an example real quick. So I kind of want to do like an first impressions recording or something for YouTube. Hey, kitty. Hi, meow meow. Kind of wish this game was more PvE like Division. I feel like it's very PvE oriented. All right, let's try a YouTube cut here. You ready, boys? All right, so I've been playing Arc Raiders for about 6 hours, so this is going to basically be just my fresh impressions of the game. I queued one just to show you real quick, because I think the most important thing to show immediately is the visual presentation of the game, in my opinion, is actually phenomenal. This is easily the best part of the game. It looks good. It sounds even better. It's probably the game that has the best sound design that I've played in quite a while. And because it's an extraction shooter and it has PvE elements, like you can see there's a robot like right here, for instance, who's going to run around. You're sort of interacting with the world in, in sort of a non-linear manner. Like you're trying to find something, you're trying to accomplish something, or maybe look for loot or do a quest that you have. Go, get it done, and then get out. And whatever happens during that time is sort of where the fun of the game and the variety of the game goes. Maybe that's running into mobs when you're PvEing. Maybe that's running into some other players during PvP. Definitely a game that benefits from having friends and playing with friends. I played with my buddy King and Ghazi and a little bit with my IRL buddy Eric for like 6 hours or so. So that was probably the best way to experience it is with a group, for sure. You can solo queue it and fill into a squad. It's in trios. So I do kind of wish that I could play like quads, perhaps. But it's probably best that they kept the player count somewhat low so you don't actually get, swarmed or anything like that. Maybe trios is a nice way to do it. It'd be kind of cool if you could lock out to just duos and just have duo maps as well. But, that's more of like a minor point here. The world design itself is enormous. Like the actual map is huge, and you can kind of see the different areas that there's actually loot. You can see like there's loot value high here, loot value medium here, and the loot you're actually getting, you'll get ammo, you'll get guns, grenades, healing, stuff like that. But mostly it's going to be like scraps and stuff that you're going to be using to actually craft gear, because a lot of the shit you're going to be getting in this game is for crafting. So for example, here you can like find an old broken down arc, one of these robots. You can breach and search it here. It might shock me. These things typically like shock you. Yep. Just like that. And you can search it. See what you actually end up getting. And then everything... Oh, I'm getting chased. Here got some ammo. You're constantly having to deal with the robots. The robots are kind of like the menace of the map. I'm actually just going to straight up die to it. Can I reload, please? Can I reload, please? You can shoot the propellers. What I learned is someone in chat was telling me that what they actually did was they trained like the AI on the actual propellers and like walking of the game. Holy moly, I actually died to the Doesn't have a leveling mechanic in. You can skill up as you go. Yeah, true. People that have friends excel in these games. Yeah, no, it's much better to play as a group for sure. Like, no doubt it's better to play in a group. Something I like about it, though, is the free loadout system. Like, if you're running out of like a loadout, you can go here and you can hit play and you can go and then you can confirm and hit free loadout and you get like random gear. You show the skills menu and leveling. Yeah, so there's like a leveling system here. So you can pick like mobility, conditioning, survival, etc. Like survival is more about like loot acquisition and breaching, etc. Whereas like mobility and conditioning is much more about like movement, for instance, and being able to actually continually run using the stamina system. That was pretty good. All right, I'm gonna try another take for the editor so we can cut together a video here real quick. Okay, so I've been playing Arc Raiders for about 6 hours. Just want to give a very brief general impressions of it. It's basically an extraction shooter. You probably already knew that. It's definitely a game that feels better to play with friends. I gotta say, easily the best part of the game is I'm gonna call it the cinematography, the visual presentation of the game itself. The graphics, the map design, the interacting with the Arc robots that are gonna constantly show up throughout it. It's overall, and the sound design. Honestly, got to mention the sound design because the sound design of it is actually phenomenal. It's probably one of the best games I've ever heard in terms of how they actually make the robots sound and like the beacons when they land and the launching of the rockets and all that. Like the sound, the audio of it is actually pretty phenomenal, to be honest. I think it probably is the best audio design I've had in recent memory. I mean, it's kind of up there with like Expedition 33 probably in audio. And not so much as the music, but like the audio is wise. But just kind of look at this real quick here. I just want to show you this. Like, look at this map. Look how huge this map is. And you can kind of see, like, this is the area on which I'm working in here. And you can walk to, like, basically any of these areas, which is why I can actually ping it. So you have this gigantic map, and players are dropped in groups of 1 to 3, and the whole time you're trying to sort of either avoid or maybe you want to fight them because it's your mission, etc. These giant robots, and there's a huge variety. You have the little drones, they're just trying to, like, spot you and annoy you, and then you have, like, the giant walkers, which actually shoot, like, you know, everything from grenades to actually jumping on you, etc. You have more, like, this area here, for instance, is more of, like, a high loot area, in which you can actually get better loot, but it's going to be, you know, a little bit of a scarier area as opposed to like a medium loot area, for instance. The extractions themselves are pretty interesting because when you go to actually extract, you do not like just sit there and then just wait like a timer, for instance, like Tarkov. Like it has like a big warning that happens and everyone knows that somebody's trying to extract in that area, and it will like open something up and you go inside of it and it will close it back down. And we just had a match. The last match I had is our whole team was down, and you can actually crawl in your attempt to extract. You can still hit the extract button, like while you're kneeling down. Your guy can go up and like hit the button to extract. And we actually made it out, even though a team had killed us. We crawled into like one of these extractions and then hit the button and actually got out, which is interesting. Also, this is kind of cool. You see these flares. When somebody gets down, they actually like launch a flare. So if you see a flare, then you know that there's another player there, or sometimes you see these robots like red honing in on somebody and you know there's a player there. So while the world is like kind of PvE and you're kind of running around like trying to get loot and just like get shit so that way you can do crafting, etc., because you can break stuff down in materials and there's a whole crafting leveling system. While you're doing that, the world itself is designed in a way where it makes it obvious like where players are kind of doing things. That way people end up having to like run into each other. People, you can go hunt down other players if you want, or since everyone has to kind of meet up at extraction literally anyway. Even though the game is mostly seems to be focused on like PvE and loot acquisition, PvP in and of itself becomes like a byproduct of the map design. It's sort of something that I've noticed, as opposed to like a lot of times what would happen is if I'm playing like Tarkov or something, I would load in and maybe I'm going to go find like loot to some of my favorite loot spots, but very often I'd just be looking for players just to fight them in and of themselves. What I'm noticing is in this game in particular, I kind of am always like PvE and missions and stuff first. See, there's another flare, for instance, or going for like a loot drop or something like that. And the PvP is kind of a byproduct of me like interacting with the world, which is kind of I would say probably more interesting for most people as opposed to people that are just in, there's a red one, so someone's getting scanned over there. If I want to, I could hunt down a player there. As opposed to like just constantly like looking for, queuing in for PvP match or something like that. So that in and of itself has been kind of interesting. The guns are, how to put it, like you can upgrade your guns and get them stronger, and there's attachments for your guns also, and yes, there's snipers and pistols and like machine guns and carbines and a variety of it. I kind of thought, because it's kind of like a Star Wars-y vibe and you have shields and stuff, there'd be like laser guns and shit. Maybe there will later on. It's still like only 6 hours into it, but it's mostly like kinetic type of weapons, grenades. Like the tech is an interesting combination of what seems like old tech and new tech. It's very like almost steampunkish. If you look at the weapon here, you probably get an kind of a feeling of that vibe for sure. Game looks bland? See, I don't think so. Someone in chat says the game looks bland. I think it looks quite good, but you are kind of looking at during the period in which it's raining. You have weather effects. There's like day and night cycles. So you can do a night raid, which will have higher loot but less extract points. So it's like scarier from a PvP format, for instance. Or you can do daytime raids, which is like more your standard raids, and then there can be storms and stuff just during the daytime where the sun can be setting, etc. So I think that looks pretty visually good as well. Overall, the game has been pretty fun. I'll show you some of like the menus here real quick. Now that I want to go back to surrender. I'll show you sort of the menus and how that works. There is a leveling system, and there is sort of a skill tree, which is a little bit more kind of limited. It's not like a massive ARPG skill tree type thing. It's more of a pretty relaxed, which way do you want to specialize? Do you want to specialize in fact, I'll show it to you real quick here. I'm going kind of the survival route, which makes it like my movement is, faster while crouched. I'm quieter. It's more of the stealthy. I can open up loot and reveal the loot faster, and I can craft while I'm actually in the area, and then eventually I'll be able to like breach security lockers, for instance. So this is kind of my more loot-centric and crafting-centric style. Then you have mobility, which is fairly obvious what that is, and conditioning, which is more of like a stamina and regeneration type of tree here. So they have a few different varieties of ways you can choose to go on the skill tree, and you get experience just through doing things like killing other players or just PvEing or completing quests. And there are quests, and the quests will be like, go do this, go do this, go do this. And what I've noticed is a lot of these can be done on almost any map. Some require certain maps, but you can definitely choose to do a variety actually of these different maps. And when you unlock a new map, it's cool. Like runs a whole cinematic and says new map unlocked and all that. So the whole presentation of the game was actually better than I expected for like an extraction shooter. And typically these aren't like the type of games that I actually enjoy myself. Like I'm not really a major extraction guy. I played a little bit of Tarkov, and I did enjoy Tarkov. But this one I find myself enjoying a little bit more than the average extraction. There is like crafting. You have this Scrappy, which is like this bird here, Yepcock, that bird that you have that will give you some loot over time. And then you can like craft shits, you can craft ammo, you can craft weapons. And there is like a progression system, so you can actually upgrade your workbench, for instance, or not just the workbench, but like maybe you want the gear bench. You can level up the gear bench here by getting these other resource components, which will let you unlock some other crafts later on. And having like a blue shield as opposed to a green shield, for instance, is like pretty much twice the total amount of HP. So there is like a gearing system that you acquire loot to make better and better loot, and then the better loot makes you stronger, which helps you take on like more PvE mobs, and that's sort of like kind of how you progress or be stronger in PvP, etc. So there's a little bit of progression there. There's like a trader system, so you can go here and you can actually like buy, if you want to buy like different equipment or guns or ammunition or what have you. And as you level up, you unlock more and more stuff. For instance, at level 20, I can use the Hoe Cracker, which is sort of like a PvE type of gun, grenades, gadgets, etc. So there seems to be quite a bit actually to the game. I'm pretty new into it. Like I said, I'm only like 6 hours into it. But my first impression on the game is definitely seems like a game that would benefit from having friends to play with. Definitely is more PvE centric than most of the extraction shooters I've seen, which I actually quite like. It's a balance, to be fair. You could literally only want to do PvP and log into the game and do PvP, and that's just fine. But for me, I found myself engaging with PvE a lot more than I normally do, and it's actually been more of an enjoyable process. So I'm pretty much thumbs up on the game for sure from the beginning. But I did have the benefit of having some buddies to play with basically from the launch. So if you're interested in the game, yeah, I would give it a thumbs up. And obviously this isn't a sponsored thing or anything like that. I just played the game because I was bored and thought I would try something out. But overall, actually pretty positive about this one. So anyway, that's just sort of my early day one first impression on it.